All right, Dad.
You ever meet anybody for the first time and feel like buying them a toaster for the bathtub? And, yeah, so you're wondering what it's like running for Congress and, what it's like. Well,
Yeah.
it's you deal a lot with all different types of things. And you got to remember why you're doing it. And going out there and doing the right thing for people, that's what it's about. I mean, you don't get into this and think you're going to save the world. Even though you want to try, you got to have realistic expectations. And I want to make sure we have a representative up there that's going to fight for the people. I mean, so many people go up there and they run on one thing and then they don't turn around and do what they said, or they end up representing the money that sent them there. And half the time it's not coming from the people. So that's kind of what it's like.
Well, I appreciate you, letting me do this podcast with you. And this is the first episode, so I think it's going to be great. A lot of questions about you. But what I really want to know is, with everything you've been through, you've done all this help for people, and you keep doing it with this fiery force within you. I just, like, what drives you to keep doing it for people that you don't even know or could care less about?
Oh, yeah, I grew up different than most people. I always had to, your grandparents. They had it rough when they were my age and younger than me. Raising four kids, it was tough. And then they ended up getting divorced and separated. So I started out learning how to take care of myself really young. And when you start doing that and you start seeing perspective from other people's eyes and what they're going through, you have a tendency to want to help people. And my entire life has been about taking care of other people, helping people in any way that I can. And you've seen that with, neighbors coming over to ask, hey, can I borrow a tractor or whatever? And it's always like, yep, anything I got, let me help you out. Going to 56 countries, and seeing what's out there, and then realizing how much we take for granted here in the United States. There are people out there that are doing their best, and then there's some that maybe they're doing a little bit better and they stay focused on themselves. Well, I just want everyone to have an opportunity, and if I can go out of my way to help people, I will. And whether I'm rushing into a hurricane to save someone's life or just doing what I can to help a neighbor, I want to bring that back to DC. I want to bring that back to our country. People have forgotten Christ. I mean, we're out sitting in the fifth wheel that we just bought, out here campaigning. We got a hurricane, tropical storm coming through, so you can hear the rain. But it's nice to remember what we're doing this for, and it's for the people out there.
That's awesome. Yeah. I just think it's fantastic over the years, just seeing you just always, no matter what your current position is, just willing to put yourself second, put other people's above you. I think it's amazing what God is doing in your life, and how He's using you to just always show people that no matter what position you're in, there's always someone else that could use you, that could
Yep.
that could need your help. I think that's fantastic, but I remember you mentioning over the last summer, I think it was, you said, I'm running for Congress. And I'm
Yep.
like, another big thing we're doing. It's always something new. It's always got to be big, thinking big, dreaming big. But I want to know, just, what was your initial thought with that? Like, what really was the turning point for you to go, I'm running for Congress? I know the overall idea, at least now, but think in hindsight, like,
Well, you go. I mean, was it almost 2 years? Right about 2 years to the date that I couldn't put a sentence together. You guys were planning my funeral.
yeah,
you realize how important people are. And that if you got the ability to stand up and fight for them, you do. No matter what the cost. You will stand up and fight for them. And to see what was going on with DC and all the corruption, nothing was being done, no accountability. God giving me my speech back, giving me my ability to move around, communicate, and actually get back to fighting the way I was, to help other people and not have to rely on other people to help me. I wasn't going to stand by. And yeah, I'll never do that. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. I'll go up there and I'll fight. I'll do the right thing, and I'm making sure that people have someone up there that it's not just going up there. Yes, I was a Green Beret for 25 years. Okay, 56 countries, advised 42 ambassadors, built 6 companies, global strategist at General Motors, GS15 at 27 at DARPA. I've done a lot. And to take all of that and say, okay, I understand what's going on. And I mean, you got to look at all the companies we've had built, successful companies. And I realize how many people out there aren't able to do that because they don't understand. The IRS it's not built and designed to help small businesses. It's built for corporations to make sure that the small businesses aren't going to be competitive. Let the corporations thrive. That's the IRS. You still got people that think that they send a representative up there that's going to, hey, they're going to make a law that helps us. They realize that the laws that are written to help people are then ruined by the bureaucrats that write the codes and the regulations coming out of that law with no accountability. So yes, there is a tremendous level of frustration of watching Americans get just crapped on. I'm just tired of it.
I don't think you're the only one.
No.
I think it's nice and reassuring for the people, especially the people that'll be watching this,
Yep.
to know that you're not someone that's going up there for your own personal gain. You're not going up there to do any favors to anyone except just the sheer love for the American people and what this country is. I mean, you've served this country for 25 years, like since you were younger than me.
Yep.
It's insane to even think about just everything you've done. And I think if people could really know who you are just to a just personal level, I think they'll understand.
Well, Grandma and Grandpa, they have, we've got cattle, 5,000 acres of row crops farm. I mean, playing hide and seek when you guys were kids and the corn stalks and stuff like that. We've had fun on the farms. You grew up with, what do we have, 18 horses? And
yeah, we had a lot for a while.
Had a lot of fun. So understanding this area right now, I've got, we've got the Wiregrass region, we've got the peanut farmers, we've got ag, we've got cattlemen. And the difference is in this area right now, there's a lot of people running this race. Mm-hmm. But to have someone that understands CFRs, people are probably going, what is a CFR? Okay. Code of Federal Regulations, CFRs. I learned them inside and out from being a veteran. 38 CFR, that's the codes that regulate how VA takes care of vets. And then you have, let's talk our farmers. They've got multiple. They have 7, 9, 40, and 29. Okay, so these are codes that are multiple regulations written through there. They're called titles within the CFRs that determine how someone can take care of their farm. Okay, what can a farmer do with water on his property is CFR, I believe it's 40. So you've got your representatives pass these bills that come into laws.
Right.
Then you have unelected bureaucrats writing regulations that never see the floor for a vote. And that goes in the CFRs. So you're going to send someone to DC that has never maybe been on a farm. Okay? But yet they're in an area where there's farmers and understand that. What about all of the different regulations? If we want to actually have smaller government, we need to deregulate. But you got to understand the system, and so you know how to dismantle it. Right now, it doesn't matter how many bills that we pass if we're not paying attention to what's going on over with the CFRs that are being written. We've got to focus on that area. There's 50 different titles out there, and there's a lot of them that they regulate and run every aspect of every American's life.
Okay.
And that's a big thing right there that we need to focus on.
And
We've got to start getting rid of some of the regulations, and we need to start making sure that those individuals that are writing these regulations are held accountable to our representatives.
yeah, and I like that you mentioned that because not very many people, like your average, everyday Joe, really think about stuff like this or know about it. I think a lot of people, when they think about politics, they think about, the presidents that have been in town and not really your local government and how much that your local government can change really the large majority of your life as compared to your large government up in DC. And I think what people don't really think about as much is how much power you have just in voting for your congressmen, your governors, senators, and etc. is almost more important than voting for your president. I mean, it's all like you should be voting for all of these people, not just your president.
That's right.
So the reason why I bring all this stuff up is this past general election, only I believe it was 10% of voters actually showed up to vote.
The runoff, yeah. So the runoff election, June 16th, Alabama had 10% turnout. 10%.
Yeah.
So I could understand if you have, 40% turnout. That tells you that, there's some people that couldn't get to the polls, aren't paying attention, don't get involved in primary runoffs. Yeah. And I understand that. But when you get down to 10%, what that says is that 90% have given up. I mean, and then that's it, 90%.
That's exactly what
that means that your state is at a point where they no longer care about what's going on because they have lost trust and faith in the people that they're electing. So let's look at this for a second. 10%, that's abysmal, and it's unfortunate that 10% of the people turned out, but thank God for those 10%. That they're still fighting because, I mean, the greatest thing that you have, the greatest strength you have in this country is your voice. Everyone wants to bring up Second Amendment. You and I, we love to shoot, but we also understand that there is something far greater than our Second Amendment right. That's our First Amendment right.
Your voice. Yeah.
Because if you stop executing your right and your First Amendment right, getting out there and voting, then what's going to happen is you're going to get the wrong people in office, and they're going to take away that Second Amendment right, or they're going to force you to use it. But your age group.
Yeah,
right, so
I did want to talk about that. So this 10%, large majority was, if I'm not mistaken, over the age of like 55. Mm-hmm. No one in my age group ever showed up, and I think it's because they just either A, stopped caring, or just think that the system is so far rigged it doesn't even matter who you vote for. And I think you're an amazing staple of that. That's wrong,
Right. Yep. What I've noticed is for you guys to get into like a Republican group, they say there's a young Republican group that you can get into. And I have a problem with that. That is like saying, hey, go sit at the kids' table. Well, if my voice doesn't matter to you, then why am I going to go out and vote? You're already shutting me away. So they got to start bringing your age group back in. You're talking 20 years old. You're talking people coming out of high school that are entering college, starting to realize that life's expensive, especially when you're not living at home. Mm-hmm. Well, we got to hear from you guys because you're the next generation. You're the future of the country. And if we're not looking at what you have to say, there's no telling where we're going to go. You and I are, we're 25 years apart. Yeah. And you want to talk about, I have a background in infrastructure and IT and development, all that stuff. Well, what the IT you have today and the IT that I went through growing up and building, they're in two different worlds now at this point. We got to understand what matters to you, what your problems are. And the only way to do that is to start bringing you guys to the table.
I 100% agree. I think in order to keep this country running in the way that it's been doing for almost 250 years, the young people have to have a chance to step up and be able to be heard. I mean, you think about when we were, the country was even being formed. How old was George Washington
Mm-hmm.
when everything was being established? Like it was young people that made this country, and I think it's not being kept that way in a sense.
Well, I understand no one's taking you guys seriously. No one's listening to your generation. Therefore, they're not going to turn out to vote. We don't always have to see eye to eye or agree, but we need to hear each other. Okay, you got to have wisdom, and you also need to have fresh ideas and a fresh outlook. When you sit there and someone says, well, they don't understand, they're younger. Last time I checked, you guys have no hope of being able to buy a house. There's no way. I mean, the cost of a house now compared to when I was your age, I bought my first house. Interest rates, I think we're at 6% then.
If I'm not mistaken,
The houses were half as much.
first-time homeowners in 2025 were, I believe it was the age of 40 was the average first-time homeowner the age of this year, which I think it's insane. It's just, yeah, it's
there's-
interesting. It leaves someone like me just in a corner, just wondering like, what do we do? Like, who do we put our trust in these days?
Yeah, it's expensive out there. You've got kids coming out of college that have been led to believe that they have to go and get a degree in order to be successful. No one ever said, go look at HVAC, go look at construction, go look at blue collar and electrician. To replace an outlet, a little receptacle, it's about $200. I didn't have to go to college to learn how to do that. Well, there's electricians out there, there's trades out there, but when you were growing up, no one was pushing trades in your generation. They were pushing college, which creates debt, which creates a dependence on the government, because now you're paying back a loan that you may never pay back. You got the people out there who are like, I'm not going to college. I'm going to go start my own business. And whether they're HVAC, electrical, whatever trade they're in, construction, they're doing well and they don't have the debt.
Yeah.
It's going to make those people a little bit more successful. They're going to have life a little bit easier because they're not weighed down by a college loan that they believe that they were told that they had to get in order to succeed in life. I mean, it's a tough road for you guys.
So, assuming everything works out and people vote for you and you become a congressman, what are things that you're going to do after everything you've been through and everything we've talked about up to this point? How are you going to bring change? How are you going to help the people of District 2 of Alabama?
Well, first thing is make sure their voice is heard. Okay, they have to be able to get a hold of me, right? How do you have a representative that you can only get a hold of once every 2 years when he's running for re-election? That's the important part. Okay, you got to be available. Next thing is you have to have realistic goals. It takes about 8 years to get a piece of legislation passed. There's pilot programs that you can utilize to help gather data if you're pushing a new bill. For example, let's look at the VA. My experience with the VA,
Ooh.
yes, they almost killed me. No part of their own, but they believed that there was nothing more they could do for me and sent me home without a doctor. 8 strokes, 9 months, lost my ability to speak, couldn't walk, no right side. It was rough. And you saw me fight through that without any medical care. But when you look at why and what the problem was, it was the fact that they didn't have the resources they needed to take care of every vet that was trying to come in. So what do? How do we fix that? We turn around and make sure that we start passing legislation that is going to work, and then turn around and deregulate the regulations that weren't written by your representatives. They're written by some bureaucrat. So start deregulating the problems there. Start getting legislation out there that works. Right now, something that will work for our veterans in this district is I can turn around and get a pilot program together that puts 50,000 veterans on their own insurance card, their own insurance. No, hey, let me ask the VA if I go out to community care. No, none of that. Go to the doctor of your choice and be done with it. and then show after 5 years to be out of the program that it actually works and we are taking care of our veterans and saving money. So if we can turn around and do that, that is one step of something that I can do. We also need to look at what's going on with our farmers. There are so many regulations. I mean, they have 4 different titles that they have to work under.
Wow.
And you're talking hundreds of pages of regulations. How are they supposed to succeed when they've had 5, 6, 7 generations of farmers and they're giving up because we've allowed other countries to come in, buy up 40 million acres of U.S. soil for farming, enough land to blanket the state of Alabama 2 times over, and they're able to do it because they have entire corporations behind them and they're taking control of our food supply.
So we're just leaving our farmers abandoned for another country to come in and
Yeah, pretty much.
run it. That's
So if we're going to turn around and do something, I'm going to make sure that no foreign adversary, no foreign country can ever own American soil, and that we turn around and we start putting our farmers first. If you feed America, you should come first. If you fight for
100%.
America, you should come first. Why are we not taking care of our farmers and our fighters? They shouldn't have to be begging for help, and yet they are, because there are so many different regulations written off of bills that were supposed to help them, but in turn, help the insiders.
from people that don't know anything about farming.
Yep.
You got people up in DC that want to set all these regulations on your farmers and your soldiers and stuff like that, but they don't know.
They never
Anything
served or they
about
never farmed, yet somehow they're writing regulations to how to take care of our veterans and what to do with our farmers. Yeah, no, that's got to change. So those are some of the areas that I can work on. Now, I've got 435 other members up there. We've got to be able to work together. And I can tell you right now, I am a conservative. I don't believe in raising taxes. I believe in cutting taxes, getting rid of them, eliminating them. We have enough wasteful spending in DC that it needs to stop. We have to be over this. I mean, I am so sick and tired of seeing endless investigations that never turn up any accountability. We got it. That's got to end. We actually have to start having real accountability, and someone's got to be willing to fight for it. You get people out there say, "Are you going to support the president?" That is like the dumbest question I ever get, because why would you not?
Right.
Why would you not support the president? I completely cannot understand that I have to go out there while campaigning and tell people that I'm going to support the president. It's like, are you serious? I liked him before he ever ran for office. Okay, back in the day when he had his TV show and,
Right.
You're fired. No, that was good times. I remember when he was on Home Alone and he was walking through, the movie. Okay, I always liked him. I wanted a businessman to be the president of the United States. Why? Well, we have 6 businesses. Well, started and ran 6.
Had, yes.
But the most important thing was the employees. Investing in the employees is what made the businesses successful. And if you have a president that treats this country like a business and knows that you've got to invest in the Americans in order to have a successful country, it's the same thing that you do as your representative. I invest back into Alabama. I invest back into the 2nd Congressional District here so that we can all thrive.
Right.
That is how you succeed. So we've got to have that mindset up there. This isn't some self-gratification, let me go get a position. That's the worst reason ever to run, period.
And you've already done so much. I mean, why, you're not looking for that. I know you're not, because you've done so many different things. It's just the raw love for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, so go up there and support the people of Alabama, make sure they have the best representation possible. That's what I want to give them. Right? Yes, I have a tremendous amount of knowledge. You know that. I'll sit there and read the 50 different CFRs and different parts. You saw me reading one the other day on aircrafts. I like to know things. I want to know what's going on. I see an issue, I want to figure out what's causing it, how did it cause, what can we do to prevent it. I'm always looking at. Half the time you can find the problem in a regulation written by some bureaucrat that has no idea why they wrote it. So we've got to just have the right representation up there. we can sit by idle and do nothing. 90% of people in Alabama stayed at home. They're tired. They're tired of voting for the same thing and never getting a result that matters. They are not insane. Okay, the definition of insanity, we all know what it is.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting
Okay,
different
so how
outcomes.
do you expect 90% of Alabama to keep voting and never getting what they voted for?
You can't.
You can't. So I want to make sure that I don't fall into that loop. I want to give them what they're voting for, and that is a representative that is willing to be held accountable.
That's awesome.
So, you got any other fun questions?
Well, there's a lot of things that you've done that we haven't really ever touched base about in general. Like Jamaica. It was Jamaica, right?
Yep, it was Jamaica.
You just called me one day. You're like, I'm gonna go help these people out, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I'm like, again.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't really get to hear a lot about Jamaica from you as more of a personal thing for me. Like, what was that like?
I was in the middle of a campaign, and I saw what was going on down there, and I got a call from someone here local in Alabama, and he said that his niece and nephew were stranded down in Jamaica. Is there anything I could do? Well, okay, game on. I'm going into Jamaica. I reached out to Project Dynamo, where I work with them, rescue organization, and said, we're going to Jamaica. And they said, yep, we're getting ready. I said, well, I've got 2 Alabamians that I need to get out of there, and we need to get in there and get them immediately. So I let some other people know that we were heading down to Jamaica to try to get some supplies together. We didn't want to go in empty-handed because we were going in immediately. Mm-hmm. We weren't waiting for any type of clearances. We were going one way or another. So the Bear Point, where the marina's there, and they've got the Oso restaurant.
Right.
Well, when we had our boat over there, all the Jamaicans that worked there on the work visa program. So a lot of their family members were down there that they couldn't get a hold of. So I reached out to the restaurant. They got so much in supplies together. I mean, they packed my 18-foot trailer in the back of my truck. They packed that thing full, and drove it all the way down to South Florida, linked up with the rest of Project Dynamo guys, and it was myself and 2 others that went in first. This was going to be a hairy situation. We didn't know security on the ground. We didn't know what was going on. It was one of those where you're going in with a bag on your back, and you don't know when you're coming back home. And that's what we were going in with, and I was fine with that. So we ended up getting in there. Airport, they weren't real happy. So we land, and they're like, who are you? Where'd you come from? Where's your clearance? And we're like, yeah, we're here to help. So a lot of the stuff that we had brought in on the plane, we kind of helped out those people at the airport, and then built a rapport with them to allow us to keep things coming in. And then we met with some of the local leadership. I was able to talk with the mayor and also one of the board members for tourism. And she was able to tell me who was in country. So we were able to find out what Americans were there, plus other people that were stranded. And we ended up finding a hotel that had got hit pretty hard. But they took us in and opened their doors for us. And we ended up using that as a hub over the next 10 days.
Okay.
We rescued 159 people. I did get those. We landed, went, built some rapport, got to the hotel, sorted some things out. We got 2 drivers that we hired to drive us around with vehicles. And we set up an entire operations center in that hotel. That's all taking place within a couple of hours. And at the same time we're setting that up, we got a couple guys there. I went back to the airport. We linked up with the pilot, and we flew over to the other side of Jamaica on the west side. And there was an airport over there, but we couldn't land. Strip was way too short.
Okay.
So we did a couple of flyovers, went back, and then I got the driver and I said, we got to drive over. And we don't know the roads. It's pretty bad. But we flew it coming back with the airplane. We flew the route back so we could see the road. So it took me a couple hours to get over there. But we got both of them and got them back. And then a couple days later, we were able to get them out on a flight home. But in the meantime, when we got them back, we also started doing rescue missions. We found out that from working with the local government that there was areas that hadn't had water, by this time, food and water in 5 days. So we were trying to get into areas where they couldn't get vehicles. So I hiked in miles in blown out roads. You're just talking like walking across the side of a mountain that would have been a road is now all dirt.
Sucks.
And hiking in with as much water as you carry in your back, finding bodies, trying to get those out of there, helping people that were injured. And we did a lot. And not only I was able to help Americans, but I was able to help people in need. And we got them the supplies they needed. And this was all during the government shutdown, so the U.S. wasn't able to do a lot at the moment. And everything was shut down. So there was a lot of organizations that came in. We were the first ones to land in Montego Bay. And after that, more and more started coming in, and we helped not just the 150 plus Americans get home, but we helped a lot of people there also. And you're extremely grateful, very friendly people. In fact, if I ever go back to Jamaica, I'm pretty sure that I can stay anywhere I want. But super nice people, and I'm glad I was able to do that. That's the thing is, you're running to be a representative, and you're running to do the right thing. But you got to understand that people come first. And if that would have cost me the campaign, at least I would have saved some Americans. And there was one person out of there that would not have made it, would have died if we didn't get her out in time. That's enough for me, just to be able to do the right thing. So going into Jamaica, going into all these other countries, it's all about being there for people when they need you most. And that's what Alabama needs right now.
Well, Dad, thank you so much for sitting down with me here in your super nice fifth wheeler. So we will definitely do this again. I'm sure we'll make this a regular thing if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I'd love to. We can do more.
Thank you so much to anyone who was willing to sit down and just listen and kind of hear my dad's story and more about what he does plan to do and the things that he's done for people. We will definitely come back to this, and I hope to see everyone that has been listening back here in the comments and everything like that. So thank you, Dad, and thank you guys.
Well, all right, and I think he wants to do this every day, so we'll just be pumping these things out. We'll be having fun. Go ahead and send questions. I'll answer anything. I'm okay with that. If you can't get a real answer out of me, look, I'm not going to give you a political one. I might give you something that you may or may like the answer to, but at least it's the truth. There's a lot of people out there that, you look at them and you wonder who ties their shoes for them in the morning. Just smile and nod. God bless them.
Yep.